Well, hello, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm making scratch-made buttermilk biscuits. They're so light and fluffy and tender and easy. I can't wait to show you this recipe. I'm starting with some self-rising flour. I'm using the white lily flour. I think it's the best, but if you can't get it, then just any self-rising flour will do. And I'm using 2 cups and maybe a couple of tablespoons more. And you're going to need a little bit more for dusting your board and kneading. So I'm going to go back to this and set that aside. Now I'm not going to sift my flour. I'm just going to use my whisk. Make sure that there's no lumps and it's nice and smooth and soft. And even though it's self-rising flour, I'm adding a teaspoon of baking powder. I think it works better. I don't know, just trust me, it does. They rise prettier, they're fluffier, and I'm really leveling off that teaspoon. This goes to the side. I'm adding a little bit of salt. I'm going to say a pinch, but if you want to measure it exactly, use 1/4 teaspoon. And that goes right in, as well as the same amount of sugar. It's just going to give the biscuits a little bit of flavor, and the salt balances the sweet balances the salt. So even though it may seem like it's canceling it out, it still gives it a lot of flavor. Now I'm going to whisk this right in and make sure it's all mixed together. Now comes the butter. I've got a stick of salted butter. This has been in the refrigerator. It's super cold, and as a matter of fact, I popped it in the freezer when I started pulling my ingredients to make my biscuits because I wanted to make sure that it was really, really cold. Now, this is something that's a little bit different. I've read about this, but I've never tried it. I made biscuits the other night and did this little thing that I'm about to show you, and it made it so much simpler. So I've got my cheese grater, and I'm going to start grating this butter. That's why you need it really, really cold, because your hands on this butter is going to melt it really quick. Now, as I go, I'm just going to start stirring it in, getting all of it off my grater. And what this does, it eliminates you having to use a pastry cutter or your hands. And I really don't mind using either one of them, but I found that this works really good. And to me, it's less mess and it's just simpler. I love biscuits. My husband loves biscuits. We all love biscuits at our house. And these are so good. Now, as I go, I'm going to keep stirring just to make sure that my butter doesn't become a lump. This should be my last go around with this. There we go. Now I'm reserving just a little bit, and I'm going to put this in my baking pan. Actually, I'm using a skillet because I'm going to use that to butter my pan, and I'm also going to use some and melt it and put it over our biscuits while they're baking. Now look at this. Now, I'm done. The shredded butter is just the size that I need it to be. You want it to look basically like crumbs. make sure that that butter is all incorporated in. And I'm going to create a well right there at the bottom, and I'm going to start pouring in my buttermilk. And I'm going to start with about a half of a cup. There we go. And I'm going to stir this in. And one thing about biscuits is you don't want to overwork your dough. So I'm just stirring this in, and I know that I'm going to add some more buttermilk. And again, I'm just going to make a little well right down there at the bottom. And now I'm going to add about another half of a cup. Sometimes you need a little bit more, sometimes you need a little bit less. I have no idea why, but that's just the way it is. And I'd rather add a little bit less than I need than more, because I can always add a little bit more, but I can't take it out. And look at that. See how it just looks kind of like a scraggly mess? That's it. I'm not stirring any more. And that goes right on my board. Now I'm going to take some more of this flour. You get this off. I don't want anything to go to waste. That's another reason why I like that grater, is because I don't have a lot of waste that's left over on my hands. Now, I'm just going to pat this together really lightly. And I'm going to turn this over. Just fold it over towards you. As I said, we don't want to overwork the dough, but we do want it to be nice and smooth. Now, I'm going to put just a little bit more of my flour, not too much, because you don't want just a floury taste to your biscuits, but just enough where it doesn't stick. And again, I'm going to fold it. See? And now my biscuits are starting to get nice and smooth. And I love just a crackly biscuit. My husband does too, but if you want a really smooth, pretty biscuit, then you will have to knead it, just like we did. Now, the dough is nice and smooth, and it's easy to work with. This looks great. I'm going to wash this off real quick, and I'll be right back. Now I'm ready to butter my skillet. I'm using a 9-inch ceramic skillet. Cast iron is also wonderful, as a matter of fact, preferable. But if you don't have a 9-inch cast iron or an oven-proof skillet, then get a 9-inch cake pan. That works just great, and prepare it the same way that I'm showing you. Now, that is ready, and then I've got maybe close to a tablespoon of butter left, and that's going in my little dish. I'm going to melt that in a few minutes, and I'll show you what I'll do with it. Okay. Now, I have my biscuit cutter here, and it's just an old can. This is a tomato paste can. I love the size that this makes, because they're not too big and they're not too little. One biscuit just is perfect with this. And the reason why I like to use a can is I like both sides to be open, because a lot of times it sticks, and I can push my finger through and unstick my biscuit. Now I'm going to take this, and I'm going to dip it in my flour. And my dough is about 1 inch to maybe 1.5 inches thick. And come on, see how it's sticking there? I I just put my finger in. And what I'm going to do is just take my fingers and I'm going to go around the middle of the biscuit, and I'm going to put the smooth side up. And I'm going to get a little of that flour on my hands. Matter of fact, I'm going to put some on the board. That way I can go back to it. I'm going to keep doing this until all of them are made. And I'm going to do the same thing. And smooth side up. Now I've cut out all that I can on that piece. So I'm going to take my dough and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold it over, pat it out to about an inch. And I'm going to keep doing that until all of my dough is used up or my pan is full. And these are going right in. See how these look? Just fit them in nice and tight. They will be just fine. I found with this recipe, a 9-inch pan works perfect. That goes right in. Look at these. I can tell you they are going to be so good. Now I have my oven preheated to 450. You want to make sure that your oven is really good and hot. And if you feel like your oven doesn't cook to temperature, then boost the temperature up. You can cook biscuits anywhere from 450 to 500 degrees, and that's just fine. So if you feel like your oven is a little under temp and just isn't quite getting hot enough, then bump that temperature up. And these are going in. And I'm going to let them cook for about 10 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to take the rest of this butter and melt it. And in 10 minutes, I'll show you what these look like. We're going to brush them with butter, put them back in the oven. And then, not long after that, we're going to have a biscuit. I'm going to show you just a little quick tip that my mom showed me that I love. When you're melting butter or basically anything, you've got to cover it. And my mom showed me about using coffee filters. You can buy like 200 of them for $1. They're biodegradable, which is wonderful. And you're just going to put that over your cup. And in the microwave it goes with no mess. Thanks, Mom. My butter is melted. Isn't that great? I love that little trick. And these have been cooking for about 10 minutes. And they're perfect right now for adding the butter. The butter not only is going to give them flavor, but the butter will help them to brown and just have a beautiful golden top. It smells so good in this kitchen right now. I know when my husband gets home, he is going to be one happy man. Nothing better than a hot buttered biscuit. Now these are going to go back in the oven for anywhere from 7 to maybe 10 minutes. I want them to get nice and golden brown. So our cooking time is about 20 minutes, give or take, just a little bit. So I'm going to go clean up my mess and I'll see you back here in a few. These biscuits already. Look at these. It just doesn't get any better. Now, one of the reasons I like to cook this in a skillet is because it keeps the biscuits nice and hot for a long time. And these are definitely hot. And I'm about to show you how we did. Goodness, these are so hot. Oh, look at this. Oh my. And I'm gonna pull this one out, let you see this center biscuit. Look at how high and beautiful these are. That's what that little extra baking powder does. I definitely think that it's worth it. Ooh. Now, just put those right there and let me show you. See why I say that the pan is the perfect size? This is just a perfect size biscuit. Now, let's break it apart. Oh my goodness. Look at that. They're tender, they're flaky, they're absolutely beautiful. Put a little bit of butter on. Just a little bit. And my husband is going to want the maple syrup. And I've got some preserves over here, so later when I want a little snack, this is going to be wonderful. Y'all, this is absolute perfection. They're so light and fluffy and moist and flavorful. They're absolutely perfect. Get you a piece of ham and put in the middle of that. That's what I do with the leftovers. I'll put some ham in the middle and wrap them up, freeze them, pull them out for my husband for breakfast. He absolutely loves them, if there's any left. But you've got to try this. Using that cheese grater makes all the difference in the world. And to me, takes out a lot of the mess and a lot of the work. That's good. Thanks so much for watching. You're a blessing to me. I hope that this has been a blessing to you. Make these for your family. They are going to love them. Not to mention, you will too. I hope you have a fantastic day. If you would, share this video with your friends, press that like button, and I'll see you next time.